So for this episode, I'd like to welcome my friend Hank Pellissier. He is the head of the Brighter Brains Institute, and that's an institute that essentially, it has to do with transhumanism, etc., whole kinds of other things. But really, the reason I have him on the show today is all about his work that he's been doing in Uganda to help out kids at orphanages and also at schools there by effectively building the orphanages and schools. So, Hank, welcome so much to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So what is Brighter Brains doing in Uganda currently? What are the projects overall?
Well, I think we have quite a few projects. I'm going to divide them into two areas: the Atheist Humanist projects, and the other ones that help Ugandans that either are religious. And most of our activities either take place in a small town called Charumba, or in a town called Kasese, in like sort of the suburbs of Kasese. The reason I got involved in Uganda, let's see, I have a friend from years ago. I used to work at Salon.com. I was a writer for Salon.com, and I have a friend who was also a writer there. And he suddenly quit the United States, and he went and he joined the Peace Corps. I think he was 56, and he joined the Peace Corps, and he lived in Uganda and for 2 years. And I thought that was really fascinating that somebody sort of dropped out of Northern California. His name is Doug Cruikshank. So I contacted him, and he was, he's there in Uganda. And so I had a contact there. I had somebody I could go visit and somebody who could connect me to a lot of people there. I sort of contacted him right as he was leaving, and he was replaced by another Peace Corps person named Sarah Costagnola. And she turned out to be somebody who was very easy to connect to as well, just through email, and she set me up with a lot of people there. But my main contact there actually turned out to be a Ugandan named Bwambale Robert Musubaho, who you're in contact with as well.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely amazed when I found out that he had started these atheist primary schools in Uganda, which are only about 30 miles away from Charumba. So I suddenly found out that in western Uganda, I had 3 really good contacts in a very small area, and it was very easy to get there. So ever since then, I've been working in both Charumba, which is a religious little town, and with Bwambale Robert, who's gotten most of our attention and most of our funding. So what we've done for him, what we're doing right now is we've already set up Bazoha. Bazoha is a orphanage and an orphanage school, and that school is only opened. It's only been operating for about 2 weeks. It just opened like 2 weeks ago. It's wildly successful, I would say. I just got an email from him. I think it was yesterday. So he has 148 students now.
Wow.
In grades preschool to 6th grade. So he has 148 students. The school can probably hold, I'm going to say 250. But he's doing great for just opening the doors and getting 148 students.
And just to set some context here, so in Uganda, this is the country with the kill the gays law, and the evangelical Christian, I guess it's almost like a lobby there now. I mean, they're almost kind of in charge. I mean, they've got a lot of influence there. Yeah, for a country like that, to open an orphanage that is openly atheist, right? So like, just basically it is just that way. It's like opening it's like the Lutherans or something opening a college, except an orphanage, except this in this case the organization happens to be atheist.
Yeah, I mean, we advertised it as the world's first atheist orphanage, because there's no other orphanage that just tacks on the word atheist. Bwambale actually prefers to use the word humanist. That's just a word that's used in Africa a lot more. I think maybe it comes from the British or something like that, or it's just a word that he's more comfortable with. So that's one thing. What we've also done is we're starting another school. We call it. Some people call it Bazoha too. I call it, Kahandera Nursery School. There's a fishing village which is only about a 10-minute drive away from Bazoha, and it's a rather wretched place. I've been there 3 times, and we've decided to put in a school there as well. That community has a lot of problems: drugs, prostitution, alcoholism, high rate of cholera, AIDS, malaria. It's actually, out of all the places I've been in Uganda, it's actually the most wretched place.
It's like they can check everything off their list, basically. It's brutal situation bingo. Yeah, it's actually quite a disturbing place. And then our next project that we'll probably start, I'm going to say in a couple of months, we're going to buy some land in another town called Kalembe, which is in the foothills of the Ruwenzori Mountains. It's a pretty well-known backpackers spot. It's a destination spot. You go there and then you hike out of there into the mountains. We're going to buy some land in Kalembe, and we're going to start a vocational school. It's sort of a vocational high school. And we're going to offer a lot of sort of shop classes and tailoring and a variety of. So basically, it's something we're going to offer career paths for kids there, and it'll be something that he can send. By now, after we get, Bwambali now has 3 primary schools. Yeah, which is amazing. It's time for him to have a secondary school, so he can send his kids there. So, and this secondary school also can kind of feed back into the primary school, because any graduates presumably can be helpful as alumni to the school. I mean, that's, if they can start building some sort of living, they can maybe contribute back again. Yeah, that would be great. One thing I want to do is mention that Brighter Brains has an amazing fundraiser in Christy Brabender. She lives in Delaware, and she's the secretary of Brighter Brains, and she does probably 95, 98% of the fundraising now. She's absolutely amazing. She set up a website called bazoha.org. Right. And and so she deserves the credit for sending, all of this money to Bwambali. The other thing is, one thing I think that Brighter Brains does is we offer more transparency and more contact than any other nonprofit I can think of. I think a lot of people, when they donate money, they might get a thank you note, and then they won't hear from the organization until the next time that organization wants their money. They'll probably get an email. But Bwambali is extremely good at this. Like if somebody donates, say, $1,000 to name a classroom, probably 3 or 4 times a week, he will send in a batch of photographs showing, the building in progress. And then what I do at Brighter Brains is I set up a specific channel named after the person who donated the money, and I write all these articles about how the progress on their classroom is coming along. And so they can go anytime to brighterbrains.org and go to their particular channel and see all of the progress and see what has been going on with their money, brick by brick. There are some people who have 50 articles written that are recording the progress of their various projects, and I think people really, really like that. So instead of, that's like instant, an instant feedback, and it's better than just sending it out to the organization, some more amorphous organization. And that's something I did for a while on my blog too, is I would cover it, and Bwambali has an excellent way of just taking pictures, and you're just going to see each building being constructed, and he'll give you feedback on what's going on. And you've got the pen pals, you've got all kinds of things. Just so I don't forget, what's the site again? Can you spell it out for us? Bazoha, BIZOHA.org. So, and for the Canadians in the audience, BIZOHA.o, org. There you go. And so, just to go back quickly, because I think I'm pretty sure that the majority of our audience probably knows a little about this already, perhaps, but just for the general audience, if we get some general listeners out there, when you say atheist school or atheist orphanage, what do we mean by that really? Does that mean that people are sitting down and the teacher is whipping out some handouts to teach them all about atheism? Is that what it is, or is it something else?
It's something else. Basically, the notion of a secular school, like that we have in the United States, where a public school system is secular, where it's not aligned with any religion, that's a very rare situation in Uganda. Uganda, as you know, is not a wealthy country. So basically, when the country achieved independence, I'm guessing around 1965. It was determined that the two main churches, the Catholics and the Anglicans, would basically run the school systems. So my understanding is that even in the public school system, the kids are required to read catechism every day. So basically every school in Uganda is religious. It's and then of course when you go there, you find out that most people don't actually want their kids in the public school system because the classrooms are overcrowded, and by overcrowded I mean numbers like 150 or 200 kids squeezed into one room. So people try to get their kids into a private school, and now when they try to get their kids into a private school, what they're talking about is either an Anglican or a Catholic school. Right. No, so this becomes problematic because. Like say last time I was there, we hiked way up into the mountains and we found a little tiny Anglican school. It was, I'm going to say about 5 hours from any road. And we get there and we walk into a classroom, a primary school, and he's teaching Adam and Eve, and he's teaching his history. He's teaching Cain and Abel, and he's teaching and he's also teaching something about that the whole Ishmael story and about how Ishmael became like an Arab and later a Muslim or something like this. Anyway, he's teaching all of this to the kids.
All this far out stuff.
Yeah, as historical fact. Anyway, so the amount of secular schools in Uganda, as far as I can tell, is less than 10, and it might only be like 5 or 6. It's the ones that are set up by the Humanists of Uganda. There's a Isaac Newton High School in Masaka. There's a Mustard Seed Middle School, which is also near Masaka. And then Bombali had 2 campuses in Kasese, and then he's got his Bazoha, which is outside of Kasese in a town called Muhokia. And then he's going to have the Kahandero. So that only adds up to 6, 6 schools that aren't where religion isn't taught as out
of a country of millions, right?
Yeah. I wanted to mention a couple things about why secularism is important in Uganda. Here's an example. This is actually a life and death situation. Brighter Brains, aside from schools, we've also set up, it's either 13 or 14 clinics. And our clinics actually well, not all the clinics, but the ones that are affiliated with Bombali, they offer condoms, and they offer sex education. Now, it's kind of amazing that you have Uganda, which has a really high AIDS rate and a really high rate of unwanted pregnancy and that kind of thing. And it doesn't really... People don't actually use condoms. So you take it to a little town like Kahandero, which has a high rate of AIDS, and no condoms, and you can see this is a completely insane and dangerous situation. But because of the religion there, condom use is not encouraged; it's condemned. So this is a life and death kind of problem. So we do offer that. We also, just last week, we offered We got some Afro pads, which are sanitary napkins for the girls, because it's another problem when girls just sort of drop out of school when they start getting their period because they don't want to go to school. They don't have any, they don't want to bleed in school, so they just stay home, and then they end up just dropping out because they miss like 3 or 4 days of school. So we're trying to keep girls in school, keep kids from getting AIDS, keep parents from spreading AIDS to each other. Yes, and that's all about being a secular. There's a list of humanist, what it means to be a humanist. Bombali has it at all of his schools. I think it's a list of about 10 things, and only one of those 10 things says that they are not. Well, humanists are rational. They're not superstitious. They don't believe in false beliefs that are unproven by science. So only one out of those 10. The other things are, a lot of them they're about peace and ecology, and that's those sorts of things. But this is still a huge step forward, because you don't have to just decide that you're a religious person who, and that's all you believe. You just believe in prayer. I've been to Uganda twice now, and I can't tell you how many people, I'll just be in like what seems to be a normal conversation, and then they'll just say something like, but I really want to go to this college, and so I've been praying every day, and I'm sure I'll get in. Things like this, and they actually mean it. They believe that they regard the power of prayer as far more important than actual rational thought, and
Wow.
that's actually what Bombali is. That's his goal, and so he serves as a role model for economic success through secular thinking.
In a country like Uganda, where not everybody's Christian, I mean, you have a fairly substantial Muslim community there as well. I know because Wambale told me that they have Muslim children. Yeah, I mean, they have Muslim and Christian children. The vast majority of kids, or let's put it this way, of families who send their children to his schools are religious. Many likely deeply religious, but they're sending these kids to the schools. And the advantage of a secular school system is that they don't have to worry about a teacher rattling off some business about Ishmael and Islam, etc., which could very well not be correct or exactly how, if you're a Muslim family, how you'd want your kid to learn about this necessarily, right? So, so that would leave it's the beauty of secularism that I think that perhaps even a lot of Canadians and Americans don't get, is that, they can send their kids to these schools and then they can deal with their religious upbringing of these children however they like, right? That's a whole separate topic as to whether or not you think that's good. But the thing is that it gives them that power. And meanwhile, the school can focus on teaching the kids actual, science-based facts, or if you want to call it just basic information, and everybody wins. I mean, if the Uganda were to adopt such a system as well, think of the savings, because you wouldn't have, for instance, Jewish families or Muslim families or something everybody demanding their own school.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention about the secular thing is something you've already mentioned, which is the whole anti-gay thing in Uganda, and that really stems from the Christian churches. It stems from, I think, the Anglican archbishop, something like this, but the Catholics are also really, anti-gay. So that's another reason. If the kids go to Wambale schools, the secular schools, they don't get that anti-gay stuff preached at them, and that's wonderful. I did find two other groups that were also gay friendly, which is the Unitarians, a tiny group in Uganda, and there's also a very tiny Jewish population in Uganda, and they're also gay friendly.
Yeah.
But the humanists are definitely, they're not persecuting gays, and that's a wonderful thing. And we also have a lot of clinics and do a lot of support. I'd say about 40% of Brighter Brains money goes to orphanages and schools and clinics that are affiliated with religious organizations. But it's increasingly upsetting because I don't like supporting schools that preach anti-gay information, and I don't like supporting clinics that won't hand out condoms. So we're trying to move away from that a bit.
I want to maybe put it into context here and say, I mean, let's say someone donated $20. What does that do? Like, what does that bring them? Because it's not only, it's not only big donations of $1,000 plus. You can donate $5, $10, $20, and that makes a difference, right?
Oh yeah, any amount makes a difference. Like right now at Cahandero, we've got all the major stuff funded. Like we've got 3 classrooms funded, and we have the clinic funded. Those are like, those are big $1,000 items that you get your name on it. But that still leaves us like, I think about $4,500 short. And so that's all going to be filled in with $10, $20, $50 increments, of which, that's probably the bulk of what we get is that kind. We have a lot of contributors who they just give. I have some people who have like that monthly installment thing where they just give me like $25 a month to go over there, which is actually really fun because the last time I went, I just took all these envelopes and I put all their money in these envelopes, and then I handed it to Wambale so they could have that transparency of seeing that their money, got directly handed to them. So that's great when people set up a monthly thing, or actually any amount is fine. I think I have an offer. Anybody who gives about $40 gets a Bazoha t-shirt that I'll mail to them anywhere in the world. Everybody who donates any amount at all gets Bwambali's ebook, which is called Orphans of Rwenzori, A Humanist Perspective. And it's a story of his life. He was actually orphaned himself at the age of 5. So he has quite a success story and also a lot of motivation to help kids that end up in the same predicament that he did. So yeah, we love those small donations, and our original fundraiser was through a Motherboard article written by Zoltan Istvan, and it raised about $5,800 in 29 hours. And it was all small donations. We didn't have anything super big set up, so it was all small donations, but just a lot of them, which is wonderful. And I try to treat everybody who donates in the same way. Yeah, if you donate $10, you still get the ebook and the thank you card, and you're on the list where you're gonna you have access to all the what's going to be happening with the Bazoha.
Yeah, this is fantastic because this will allow, anybody listening, any level can donate. And I'll put the links on the actual show notes, but for those listening, where's the easiest way to start helping out these orphans or these children in Uganda?
Well, there's 2 places they can go. There's been a 3rd website set up, and that's actually got a lot of Cahandero info. That 3rd website is called AfricaHumanist.org. So you can go there and you can click on a donate button, and you can, they've got all these categories like $20 for nails and $25 for a bag of cement and
it's
other.
It's like you have a computer game or something, and you're like building a house, and you have to
just click them all. So that's a place to donate to Cahandero. You can do that there. You can also go to bazoha.org, and you can donate. You can donate there. That's the site that Chris has set up that is donating, the vast majority of funds. You can also just go to brighterbrains.org, and there's donate buttons there. So there's a lot of ways to do that. Or you could email brighterbrainsinstitute@gmail.com, and I can give you instructions. There are, if somebody wants to just email me at brighterbrainsinfo.org, I can give them instructions, and we can save, 2 or 3%, because when you go through these other sites,
right.
There's also GoFundMe. I think there must be about 5 different ways to donate by now. If you go through a GoFundMe, we lose 8.9%. If you go through the Squarespace setup, we probably lose 2.5%.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you want to be like super efficient, then you could just give Hank an email and he'll be able to set you up.
Yeah, you can mail a check in too. And then there's
that's perfect. That's 100%.
Not even a PayPal fee or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Hank, thanks so much for being on the show, and looking forward to having more shows with you where we can hear about the achievements that you guys make.
Well, thank you. And I will see you in Montreal sometime. We'll get some food.
Yeah, poutine. Awesome.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Well, that about wraps up this episode. If you'd like to hear more like this, go to shareaslicepodcast.com. You can also catch us up on iTunes and Stitcher as well. Remember that music is by Chromatics and it's used with permission. You can check them out over at soundcloud.com. For this particular episode, additional music was donated by Hank Pellissier. Thanks so much, and tally ho.